Right now, Russian President Vladimir Putin is condemning U.S. strikes on Iran. This as Iran considers closing a key oil shipping route.
And we're tracking hot conditions again. We'll finally see some relief pretty soon here, though.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now this morning on your Monday. Thanks for joining us. How did you guys hold up over the weekend with the heat?
We did okay. Lots of pool time.
Yeah, we didn't do too bad either. We did hit the pool, went to the Juneteenth parade, so we did spend quite a bit of time outside. So if you were in a shady spot, not too bad.
Yeah, it helped. It was just the humidity, like making it hard to breathe. But Chris has the blue on, I got the blue. We're manifesting cooler temperatures.
Cool vibes.
Cheetah girl.
Yeah,
that was the point. When I put this on, I said, you know what? I'm going to think cool. Going to think cooler temperatures today. It's going to be a little bit before we feel any of that relief because we've got another alert day today for the extreme heat and for some storms. Yeah, both because we're going to see the heat. That's already the case this morning. And then we also got a storm threat later in the day. We did not fall below or even into the lower 70s in Madison. Monroe, one of the cooler temperatures, they're at 72. That's still very, very warm outside, especially for nighttime temperatures. We're even in the 80s. Camp Douglas, La Crosse, and Black River Falls all at 81 degrees this morning. Our dew points are not far behind that. Those are sitting in the upper 60s, lower 70s, even at 6 in the morning. We have that heat advisory for everyone, not La Crosse and Black River Falls. It's still going to be hot there, just not as hot as what we're going to see here. That's set to expire at 7 p.m. and that's when we're dropping alert day conditions, but that'll be in place most of the day. And then, yeah, we've got that storm threat to talk about later this afternoon into the early evening. We'll time that out on Future Track coming up.
Savannah, thank you. And stay on top of the alert day conditions by downloading the free First Warn weather app. You can find that in your app store.
Well, with temperatures soaring and heat advisories in effect, it is more important than ever to take care of yourself and your loved ones.
Extreme heat isn't just uncomfortable, it can be dangerous. If you need a place to cool off, public libraries, senior centers, and community centers are a good place to start. Senior centers are open during the week to cool off starting at 8:30 a.m. and libraries beginning at 10. They typically are for extreme heat conditions. In the Madison area, you can go to Westtown Mall. You can also check your local community centers like Lucier and Goodman. And north of Madison, cooling centers are available at the Sauk County West Square Building, Reedsburg City Hall, and Arena Fire Station. To find a cooling center near you, you can visit 211 Wisconsin online.
Developing now, police are investigating a deadly car crash in rural Rock County. Officials say that the crash happened just before 11 o'clock last night on Highway 81. The westward car crossed the center line and collided head-on into another. The collision killed the driver of the car that was headed west. That person has been identified as a 26-year-old man from Winnebago, Illinois. A driver and passenger were injured in the other car and were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The name of the man who died will be released once his family is notified.
In other news, national news this morning, Russian President Vladimir Putin is condemning U.S. strikes on Iran after meeting with Iran's foreign minister. This comes as President Donald Trump is expected to meet with his national security team just 2 days after the U.S. military launched strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Satellite images show the aftermath of the strikes on the 3 sites. The president claims on social media that monumental damage was done, with the largest damage far below ground level. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is acknowledging that he was given a heads up about the strikes. He says his country is close to achieving its goals in the conflict. Meanwhile, Iran is vowing to respond to the U.S. strikes. President Trump says any retaliation from Iran will be met with force far greater than Saturday's strikes.
Demonstrators are hitting the streets in Los Angeles to protest the U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict. Los Angeles is home to one of the largest enclaves of the Iranian-American community outside of Iran. One Iranian-American fears that the prospect in a large conflict involving the U.S. He says the uncertainty of the conflict at this point is worrying.
You know, hopefully it'll stop right where it is right now. And they're going to negotiate, they're going to work it out, and just leave it as that, get out of everything. But apparently it doesn't look that way.
It is not right for us to be involved. It is not right for the U.S. to be a part of a war that is just not our fight. It's not our fight.
Protesters also demonstrated in Washington, D.C.
The State Department is warning Americans worldwide to take caution, especially if they are traveling overseas. They say the conflict between Israel and Iran has interrupted air travel across the Middle East. The State Department warning comes after the Department of Homeland Security issued its own threat assessment. Homeland Security warns of potential acts of terrorism.
New this morning, Iran's parliament is reportedly backing the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz. Now the decision to close the waterway is up to the country's National Security Council. Iran controls one side of the Strait of Hormuz, the only way to ship crude oil from the Persian Gulf to the rest of the world. An analyst says blocking the strait may mean Iran risks turning neighboring oil-producing countries into enemies.
Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil says his detention felt like a kidnapping. This comes just days after being released from custody while awaiting his immigration status hearing. Khalil spent over 100 days in detention after ICE agents arrested him over his involvement in pro-Palestinian protests last year. He says while the release is sweet, it's not a victory since Palestinians are still being killed under U.S. bombs, he says. His attorneys deny he has done anything wrong, saying Khalil's detention violated his right to free speech. His custody release is due to a federal judge's order.
A Tennessee judge is ruling that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador, should be released while awaiting his criminal trial. She says prosecutors failed to make a convincing case that Abrego Garcia should remain behind bars and that there's no proof of a flight risk, harm to minors, or intention to obstruct justice. He is accused of smuggling undocumented immigrants across state lines. Abrego Garcia denies those charges.
In health news, there's concern that bird flu is evolving to bypass the human immune system. Using artificial intelligence technology, researchers at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte looked at thousands of viral proteins. They say the virus has mutated over the past decade, and those mutations increase the chances of a pandemic. They also say older vaccines may not be as effective. 70 people have been infected, and one person has died from bird flu in the U.S.
The world's only twice-a-year shot to prevent HIV is now FDA approved. HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. Of course, the vaccine is marketed under the name Yes2Go and can be used by both men and women. Clinical trials show the injection is nearly 100% effective at stopping new HIV infections. The breakthrough comes as the Trump administration eyes deep cuts to HIV prevention funding. In the U.S., there are still more than 30,000 new infections of HIV every year.
If you've stepped outside at all through the weekend, you'll know how hot it is here in Wisconsin. Also, getting out to enjoy the heat are stinging insects. In most cases, stings from bees or wasps are just really annoying, but if you're allergic, it may cause more problems. Your body could react to the venom and release histamine. You should get medical attention immediately if you have symptoms like difficulty breathing, dizziness, nausea, itching and hives throughout the body, swelling of the throat and tongue, or diarrhea. SSM Health family medicine physician and wellness coach Dr. Rupa Shah says if your only symptoms are minor redness, warmth, or swelling around the sting, you can usually treat it at home.
You really want to try and just like scrape it or maybe use some tweezers, being really careful not to squeeze the, into the skin, the rest of the venom. So you really want to scrape it and get it off. And then you can just apply some ice for the swelling and maybe a little hydrocortisone or calamine lotion for the itching that might result from the sting.
She says if bees are flying around, remain calm and slowly walk away. Swatting at an insect may cause it to sting.
Of course, we want to make sure that our furry friends can stay cool in this weather too, so the Dane County Humane Society is releasing some timely reminders on how to keep your pets safe in this extreme heat. They say to watch out for heat stroke by looking for symptoms like excessive panting, drooling, or lethargy. You may also give your pet extra water and offer ways to cool off, like a fan or ice cubes in their bowl. Take advantage of cooler mornings and nights to take your pet for a walk. And brush your pet. A clean coat keeps them cool. Don't shave down the skin. That could put them at risk for sunburn.
If you need a way to cool off this week, this Thursday in Beaver Dam, bring the whole family out to the Dodge County YMCA for the annual World's Largest Swim Lesson. The annual event brings awareness to water safety and drowning prevention worldwide. On Thursday, representatives will be at the YMCA all day to spread safety awareness and inform you about the YMCA swim lessons. From 5 to 6:30 p.m., there will be a community social with free ice cream and activities for the kids, alongside a complimentary YMCA Family Day Pass given to participants. Swimming lessons will also be in session all day long.
If you feel like you were seeing double in Madison recently, you weren't going crazy. The East Side Club presented the 5th annual Twin Fest yesterday. Twins from all over came together playing twin-themed games and trivia, all while having double the fun.
Well, I don't like any sauces, and she loves ketchup.
I like playing tag because I never get tagged because I'm faster than Owen.
I like mushrooms, and he doesn't.
And I don't like mushrooms. He does.
How about that? The event was free for twins and for their hard-working parents that raised them. Parents of twins under 5 were able to enter for just $1.
All right, isn't that a very neat event? Twins encountering twins.
How about that? Yeah.
Yes, cute. Well, let's check in with Savannah. What's coming up?
Well, guys, we've got the dangerous heat and one more alert day because of it through Monday evening, and there's also a storm threat later today. We'll have those details coming up.
Coming up in your morning sports, we'll have highlights from Game 7 of the NBA Finals. After a rough start for the Pacers and a lead at the half, see if they could hold on to win it all.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Well, temperatures are already off to a very mild start. We're at 77, and that's the coolest temperature that we've so far dropped to. I don't think we'll fall much more, and then we're quickly going to see conditions warm up into the 90s again this afternoon. Check out areas up northwest of here: La Crosse, Camp Douglas, Black River Falls, all above 80 degrees. This is very, very dangerous even during the nighttime when temperatures don't fall below about 70, 75. Our body doesn't have time to cool down from the heat that we had all weekend. Lows were in the upper 70s most of the weekend. That'll continue one more day. Heat index values are going to be about 95 up to 100. That's why we're keeping that one additional alert day in the forecast through this evening. We're under a heat advisory. Areas like La Crosse, Black River Falls, and Northwest actually saw that just decrease because those temperatures will be a little bit better than the rest of us across southern Wisconsin. It'll still be hot up there. And then the extreme heat warning east of Madison. The heat index, I think, will get up to at least 95 across most of the area. Some places will flirt with the triple digits, 100 degrees, the feels like temperature. So our bodies will actually be able to cool down the next couple of nights. Tonight, we're still not going to fall below 70, but then the nights to come, we'll see a little bit of relief. We also have a storm threat with the cold front that'll drop our temperature tomorrow, the high only at 80. But before that, we will see a chance of strong to severe thunderstorms. Most of the area at a level 2 out of 5. All modes of severe weather are going to be possible, but the wind threat is going to be the biggest thing, the issue that we could potentially see across southern Wisconsin. Storms are going to start to fire up across Iowa, Minnesota, and then travel further east, crossing the Mississippi into southern and central Wisconsin. I think by the time we head into about 4 to 5, that's when they'll still be northwest of here, but then that'll increase across Madison and most of Dane County, roughly 6 to 9 p.m. And then those are expected to weaken as they kind of linger. They're not really expected to push eastward. We'll still have that lingering storm threat overnight. I don't think at that point in time, after about midnight to 1, we're not going to see stronger storms, but some pretty heavy rain still, maybe some minor hail. Spotty showers continue into the morning, and then we additionally have a storm threat for tomorrow. The better chance is going to be just south of Madison for areas near Janesville and then across northern Illinois. The storm threat here across southern Wisconsin will continue through Thursday, and then it'll quiet up Friday into this upcoming weekend, at least the first half, but that's also when temperatures Wednesday through Sunday get back to the mid-80s.
The best 2 words in sports, and for my money, the English language. Game 7. The Indiana Pacers in Oklahoma City last night in Game 7 of the NBA Finals to play the Thunder with an NBA title on the line. And in the first quarter, it was worst-case scenario for everyone involved. The Pacers star and Oshkosh native Tyrese Halliburton, who was playing through a calf injury, injured his leg on this play and did not return. His dad confirming it was an Achilles injury. The Pacers hung around through the first half, heading to the break leading by 1 thanks to TJ McConnell and a team effort. But ultimately, the MVP of the league, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, put away the Pacers. And for the first time ever, the Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. A thunderous turnaround from a franchise that was a bottom feeder in the league just a few years back. The Crew looking for their first sweep in Minnesota since 1996, and it looked good early but got close late. In the first, William Contreras lines one back to where it came from, giving the Brewers an early lead that would only balloon. In the fifth, leading 5-3, Bryce Terang blasts a 3-run home run to right, but that's where that lead would shrink. In the bottom of the ninth, the Milwaukee lead just 1 run. Twins with 2 aboard, and Trevor McGill shuts the door. The Crew complete the series sweep with a 9-8 victory. To the College World Series in Omaha, where an LSU win would lock up a national championship. Bases juiced for the Tigers in a 1-1 game, and Chris Stanfield tips the scales. A single scores 2, part of a 4-run fourth that would seal the deal. The national championship trophy is headed back to the Bayou for the 8th time. That is your morning sports fix. Have a wonderful week.
And in other news this morning, history made in Wisconsin over the weekend.
Willow Newell is the first black woman to win the Miss Wisconsin title. Our Tanisha Shaw talked to her just hours after being crowned.
Art is just one of the ways Willow Newell wants to fight for inclusivity.
And I am telling you, I'm not going. You're the best man I'd ever know, and there's no way I can ever go.
That's the song Newell sang Saturday that would help her become the first black Miss Wisconsin after competing against 29 women.
It felt like a dream, and it still feels like a dream now.
She's from Racine, graduated just months ago with a musical theater degree, and is still trying to process all of her recent success.
Willow Newell is your new Miss Wisconsin.
When they narrowed it down, I knew that any one of us could have been Miss Wisconsin. So standing at the final 2 with Miss Madison, we were holding hands and just looking at each other, and it was just such a beautiful moment.
Newell started competing at 14 years old. She's now 22 and says growing up, she didn't see a lot of people with skin or hair like hers.
That's why I wear my hair the way I do, and why I'm so adamant about including everyone in every space. And that's what I want to do across Wisconsin. So anyone who feels left alone, or anyone who feels like they've been marginalized or made fun of, or feels like they're left out, I want to create a space for them through the arts and just through my life, honestly.
Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Newell will compete now to become Miss USA in September.
Congratulations. This is a big deal. Representation truly matters in these spaces, and I'm excited to see what she does in September.
Yeah, you know Wisconsin will be rooting for her, and so many other people out there who haven't seen someone like that compete on a big stage and represent our state before. So truly a historic moment. Congratulations to her. We're all rooting for you. We can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Absolutely.
It was still ahead. A laundry expert says we're doing it all wrong. We'll share his secrets to cleaner clothes.
And coming up in our next half hour, how some local breweries teamed up to support breast cancer. Welcome back. This photo is from Gwen. She says harvesting hay.
Nice action shot there. You see the bale flying through the sky?
Oh,
flying through the air
I missed
there.
that the first time.
I didn't see that the first time.
Yeah, right into the cart. Hope your allergies are doing okay this morning after all that hay baling, Glenn. Appreciate it. Great shot. You know, it may officially be summer. It's definitely feeling like it, but the days are starting to get shorter, right? Because we just passed the summer solstice. Check this out. Thousands gathering at Stonehenge to take it all in early Saturday morning. Crowds of revelers converged to the iconic site in Wiltshire for this annual celebration. The 5,000-year-old monument aligned with the midsummer sunrise. It draws spiritualists and tourists alike. Despite last year's vandalism by protesters, this year's event was peaceful and full of joy.
Look at that
Pretty remarkable.
sunset.
So I'm sure this is a sight to see in person. So, yeah.
Very cool.
All right, folks, let's talk laundry. Patrick Richardson, the laundry evangelist, has written books, starred in shows about laundry, and has a new store at Mall of America all about laundry. He says Most of us are using too much detergent. He recommends just 1 tablespoon of soap for a full load. And if you're using commercial detergent, use 2 tablespoons. He says the detergent is actually holding all the dirt from the washing machine, and then it has nowhere to go, so it just settles back into your clothes. Another tip, he says use warm water for everything and to never use dryer sheets because it can coat the clothes and make it harder to get rid of stains. Some hot takes.
Yeah, I'm doing the exact opposite of all of that.
Yeah, and how do you become a laundry evangelist?
A lot of questions, but this person's clearly doing something because he's gotten a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Opening up his new store, TV shows, books, and stuff. But I don't know. Here's a question for you. Would you rather do laundry or do the dishes?
Laundry.
And now it might take me 3 to 5 business days to fold it, but I'd rather do the laundry. You don't have to do anything, just watch it.
Yeah.
Just wait for it. What about you?
Oh, I'm dishes, 100%.
Dishes.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
We'll have an update on the heat coming up. Well, we're still tracking dangerous heat out there. We'll time out when we're finally going to see some relief and an update on storm chances.
And it would be a terrible day for your AC to go out. What to do if you're a renter and it stops working.
Plus, the world is watching to see how Iran could respond after the U.S. hit key nuclear sites. The latest on the attack and questions President Trump is raising.
Well, thanks for tuning in on a Monday, folks, to News 3 Now this morning. I'm Chris Stanford.
And I'm Kyrie Unley. Thanks for waking up with us this morning.
We do have some developing news to get to. A deadly head-on collision in rural Rock County is now under investigation.
The Rock County Sheriff's Office says a 26-year-old man from Winnebago, Illinois, died at the scene. The Sheriff's Office says it happened just before 11 last night on West Highway 81, just south of County Road T in the town of Avon. They say a driver traveling westbound crossed the center line and hit the 26-year-old driver who was traveling eastbound. The driver who crossed the center line and their passenger were seriously hurt but are expected to survive. The crash remains under investigation. The victim's name will be released by the medical examiner.
And if you normally take Highway 81 for your morning commute, you might want to leave a bit earlier. This just in, a crash has closed State Highway 81 in both directions from County T to Avon Store Road. That crash is near mile marker 101. We are not sure at this point if it's connected to that fatal crash in Rock County. We'll let you know if this clears back up before the morning commute.
Well, let's switch gears here. I know the heat is on the mind of many this morning. And Savannah, how's it feeling out there?
Yeah, it's definitely not off to a good start. We're waking up to sunshine, but that fueling very warm temperatures. They did not fall past the lower 70s overnight. We even stayed in the upper 70s across Dane County, and we're currently still at 77 in Madison. We've got areas, La Crosse, Camp Douglas, Black River Falls, even stay above the 80-degree mark. It's also very muggy already. We do still have one more alert day through Monday evening because the dangerous heat. We'll have heat index values surge up to about 95 to 100 later today. And then we also have the humidity leading to a storm chance that's ahead of the cold front that'll finally knock our temperatures down some tomorrow. We'll time out the storm chance and talk about the threats across southern Wisconsin for later in the day coming up.
All right, we'll talk to you then, Savannah. Folks, you can stay on top of the alert day conditions with the free First Warn weather app. Well, topping the news this half hour, President Donald Trump is expected to meet with his national security team today, 2 days after the U.S. military launched strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites.
Now the U.S. is pushing for peace and a return to negotiations with Iran, even as the president and his top advisors voice differing viewpoints. CBS News' Bradley Blackburn has more from New York.
This morning, mixed messages on Iran. On social media Sunday, President Donald Trump wrote, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" He posted hours after his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said this on CBS News Face the Nation.
What we are focused on is not the changing of the regime. Okay, that's up to the Iranian people.
Saturday's strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites were codenamed Operation Midnight Hammer. A White House official tells CBS News President Trump gave the final go-ahead from Marine One that same day during a call with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
The battle damage assessment is ongoing, but our initial assessment, as the chairman said, is that all of our precision munitions struck where we wanted them to strike and had the desired effect.
Satellite images show the aftermath of the strikes on Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. The president claimed on social media that monumental damage was done, with the largest damage far below ground level.
I knew in advance.
Yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledged that he was given a heads up about the strikes. He says his country is close to achieving its goals in the conflict as Israel and Iran continue trading strikes. Anti-war protests popped up around the U.S. Sunday as the White House now calls for diplomacy with Iran over its nuclear program. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Iran has vowed to respond to the U.S. strikes. President Trump says any retaliation from Iran will be met with force far greater than Saturday's strikes.
Wisconsin politicians are responding to the United States involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict. Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin releasing a statement on social media saying, "I agree with the people of Wisconsin. We do not want to be dragged into another war in the Middle East that puts our brave service members at risk. Iran, though, cannot have a nuclear weapon, but diplomacy, not war, is the answer."
And Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden expressing support for the president, saying in a post on X, quote, "Iran's first mistake was not signing the deal that President Trump offered. Their second mistake was believing President Trump would not take the necessary steps to protect our allies and interest abroad."
Back to the heat now. This week, millions are bracing for the heat as dangerous temperatures are expected in the Northeast. The National Weather Service says highs there will reach 20 degrees above normal in parts of the Northeast and here in the Midwest. In Philadelphia today, the heat index could reach 108. In New York City, forecasts call for triple-digit temperatures tomorrow that could test the electric grid. The mayor is urging people to use air conditioning moderately.
Monitoring the electric system to make sure we can minimize the power outages. But this system can be stressed when temperatures rise to a high level and many people have their air conditioners on higher than what's necessary.
I hope my AC stays intact.
The National Weather Service has issued extreme heat warnings or heat advisories now for 26 states, including Wisconsin.
When your AC stops working in the middle of a heat wave, it can feel unbearable. If you're renting, here's a few things to keep in mind. If your rental includes air conditioning, your landlord is usually responsible for fixing and maintaining it, but it's not always that simple. If extreme heat makes your home unsafe, you may have grounds to break your lease without paying future rent. If you're in the situation, keep a paper trail documenting the heat and your efforts to fix the issue with your landlord. For more information, you can head to tenantresourcecenter.org.
Well, how fitting is this? It is National Hydration Day. National Hydration Day is a reminder that drinking lots of fluids and being hydrated is one of the best things you can do for your body. You drink your 8 or so glasses of water a day. Make sure you're staying hydrated. If you're not a fan of the taste, try infusing it with cucumber, mint, or lemon. And of course, it's especially important to stay hydrated on hot days like today.
In some other local news this morning, one person is in the hospital after crashing into a home in Poynette over the weekend. Emergency crews, including the city's fire department and EMS, responded to the scene.
Yeah, the crash caused some significant damage to the home. The cause and the location of the crash, though, are still not disclosed at this time.
And a man is dead after a tractor rollover accident in the town of Eden. Officials say the man was operating a tractor on a hillside yesterday afternoon. When it lost traction, slid down the slope, overturned, and pinned him underneath. First responders tried to save him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. His identity has not yet been released.
This morning, UPS phishing scams are increasing. You may have noticed a text or email saying to reschedule your shipment delivery. The text asks you to click a link and tries to pique your interest by offering to reschedule your delivery. UPS wants to warn you, though, they'll never ask you for payments, personal information, or passwords using an unsolicited method like phone or email. Oftentimes, you can easily spot phishing scams like this one by the sense of urgency. Our consumer reporter, Michelle Renee Quinn, says the UPS scam that she received had a 24-hour deadline. The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champs. Last night, they took down the Indiana Pacers in a winner-take-all finale. The Pacers stayed in the game throughout the first half and had a 1-point lead at halftime despite a key injury. In the end, though, the Thunder blew things open in the third quarter and won by 12. It's the Thunder's first title since relocating to Oklahoma City in 2008.
Here's a heads up for for you. In Middleton, construction on Parmenter Street begins today. Crews will be working from just north of Century Avenue to just south of Greenbrier Road near the Middleton Operations Center. Now, this road will close to through traffic and will stay that way through mid-October. However, access will remain open for residents and local businesses along the corridor.
Crash dummies used in car safety tests are almost completely modeled after men, despite women's higher risk in vehicle crashes. The female crash dummy most frequently used in tests is a scaled-down version of the male model, just with a rubber jacket that represents breasts. It lacks the accurate sensors and attention to the anatomy. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration commits to developing female dummies in their budget plan, but it could be a long wait as the male version of that dummy is still awaiting final approval in the U.S.
Well, let's check in with Savannah to see how our hot day is shaping up.
Well, it's still going to be dangerously hot, but we do have some showers that'll cool things down, but we could be tracking some stronger storms. Those details are coming up.
After years of addiction and recovery, one woman is sharing her story as part of the opioid generation. That's still ahead.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Hi, Sabrina. I'm Leslie. I'm Lawson.
And I'm Jane. We live in Edgerton. Plan our day.
What a nice video this morning. If you live in Edgerton, you'll wake up to mostly sunny skies. Temperature is not off to a good start, though. We're pushing close to 80 degrees most of Dane County, and in Jefferson County, we are waking up to the upper 70s. We've even got a couple of spots that are sitting at 80 degrees. That's been the case this morning in La Crosse, Black River Falls, and Camp Douglas. It'll be breezy. Temperatures are going to rise. We're looking at the 90s again, so we have one more day with dangerous heat and alert day conditions through Monday evening, and then we'll finally see a little bit of relief tomorrow. That's all across southern Wisconsin with our heat index about 95 to 100. Most of us are still included in this heat advisory that's expected to expire at 7 p.m. That's when alert day conditions will be dropped. The heat and the ridge that's been building, that's overhead. The high pressure now to our southeast, but because of that, the storms are going to ride the ridge. So not only the heat and humidity that we're dealing with, but also daily storm chances with our ring of fire pattern. That's going to return. Really the case today, I think that's our greatest chance of strong to severe thunderstorms. That'll continue with stronger storms possible through Thursday, though. Most of us across southern Wisconsin are included in the slight risk. That's the yellow you see at 2 out of 5. I think gusty or damaging winds, that's going to be our primary threat. We'll definitely see some heavy rain overnight too. And then also the secondary threat, all modes of severe weather, including hail, and an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out. The majority of the day, fine. The morning definitely dry up to lunchtime. About 2 to 3, that's when some isolated showers are going to move into areas like Black River Falls and La Crosse to our northwest. By the time 4:35 comes around, that's still going to be to our northwest. I think that peaking 6, 7 and lasting until about 8 to 9 for Madison. We'll still have a storm threat overnight. I don't think at this point in time we'll still be dealing with stronger storms, really heavy rain, maybe some thunder and lightning at that point in time with minor hail. Showers continue for the morning, isolated though, and then we have an afternoon threat again, mainly south of Madison. We still could see some stronger storms. That'll continue through the evening, and then we'll finally see dry conditions, at least somewhat dry conditions, before we still see another chance of storms Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures fall to 80 tomorrow, but then they're back into the mid 80s all of the rest of the week, and that'll take us into next weekend as well, both Saturday and Sunday. I think Sunday is when we could start to see an isolated shower chance return. Friday and Saturday right now look to be dry, and at least this weekend won't be as dangerously hot. We've still got the 80s, but not the mid 90s like we just saw.
Which is nice because we need things to cool down just a little bit, just a little bit.
Exactly. The 80s, that's typical summer-like pattern here, but you know, when it gets to be 90, and especially the heat index surging past 100, that's not fun.
But I'm going to embrace it because I don't want to think about the winter months.
Yeah,
nope. Just going to embrace the heat. Embrace it.
There you go. All right, as 80s, it feels real nice. Thanks, Savannah. We had a nice Plan Your Day video today, so send us some more. We'd love to see it. Just upload it to channel3000.com, the First One Weather app, Facebook Messenger, or email us.
Breweries across the Badger State teamed up for a good cause over the weekend. Dexter's Pub held its breast cancer recovery fundraiser. BCR is a Madison-based nonprofit organization. It is the first in the nation to offer retreats to women at all stages of breast cancer. Participants had the chance to enjoy raffles and plenty of tastings of beer, cider, and more.
So this entire event started 16 plus years ago with my friend Steve, who used to own Wonders Pub, and we've been able to raise over $125,000 in that time. Last year we raised almost $15,000, and we're hoping to match that again today. We've been through a couple blizzards when we had this back in February, and now it's 100 degrees outside, but we got misters and tons of water going for people. We're super excited to be able to raise a bunch of money.
All the proceeds go to BCR, and for 27 years, Breast Cancer Recovery has helped breast cancer survivors heal emotionally through inspiring and comforting retreats.
Well, from the Prime Day shoppers out there, this year Amazon is doubling its Prime shopping days. The Summer Prime Day sale is going to run from July 8th through the 11th. That is 4 days instead of 2. With discounts on things like electronics, clothing, and other products. Amazon says last year was its biggest Prime Day yet, with more than 200 million items sold by independent sellers in just 2 days.
The opioid crisis has ravaged communities all across the nation. CBS News' Scott McFarland sits down with one opioid survivor on the opioid generation.
Raven Weaver of Morgantown, West Virginia is a teacher's aide, a mom of 2, and calls herself a member of the opioid generation. How much of your day was thinking about it?
24/7. I mean, from the time you wake up, I feel like opiates, not only there's extreme withdrawals, so you're in fear of being sick. So you obviously wake up and you have to get essentially well, and then you chase that high the entire day.
After years of treatment and therapy, Weaver has gotten clean.
I mean, you have to be willing to put in work to stay sober.
All 50 states that have been drowning in the billions of dollars in costs helping treat the addicts secured a victory Friday. A federal judge in New York gave initial approval of a $7 billion plus settlement to provide money for all 50 states. Money paid by Purdue Pharma, the maker of the highly addictive OxyContin pills. The money will be sent over the next 15 years, about $850 million of it for former addicts and families. Other money is for treatment and preventative measures. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey filed the first state lawsuit against Purdue Pharma 7 years ago when she was Attorney General.
And the more you can do around prevention, around education, the less likely it is you're going to be seeing people suffer down the line or unfortunately, dying down the line.
But the money for the victims is of little consolation to Weaver.
There are people that got addicted to the pain pills and have suffered, and they're still suffering. Many have lost their lives, or many have been incarcerated and are unemployable. And so you give them a little bit of money, but it still doesn't justify what they did.
It's expected to be months until any money is actually paid out, but this settlement extinguishes a legal inferno for the drug maker Purdue Pharma and the family that owns the company, ending thousands of lawsuits filed nationwide. Scott McFarland, CBS News, Washington.
Coming up in the morning, Sprint will introduce you to a Racine native crowned as the first Black Miss Wisconsin. If
you have a little kiddo, turn in 3 soon. Send us a picture. We'll show it on TV. We're back at the Sprint next. It is time for the morning sprint. I want to start with a quick traffic update. That closure on State Highway 81 near Broadhead is now cleared.
And we're going to move on now. New this morning, Russian President Vladimir Putin is condemning U.S. strikes on Iran after meeting with Iran's foreign minister. President Donald Trump is expected to meet with his national security team. This comes 2 days after the U.S. military launched strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. He claims on social media that monumental damage was done, with the largest damage far below ground level. Iran is vowing to respond to the strikes, but Trump says any retaliation from Iran will be met with force far greater than Saturday's strikes.
National Weather Service says highs will hit 20 degrees above normal in parts of the Midwest and in the Northeast. In Philadelphia today, the heat index could hit 108. In New York City, forecasts call for triple-digit temperatures tomorrow that could test the electrical grid. The mayor is urging people there to use air conditioning moderately.
If you need a place to cool off today, senior centers are open during the week starting at 8:30 in the morning, along with libraries at 10, as they're typically cooling centers during extreme heat conditions. But you can also check your local community centers. But to find places near you, all you have to do is visit 211 Wisconsin online.
Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil says his detention felt more like a kidnapping. It comes just days after being released from custody while awaiting his immigration status hearing. Khalil spent over 100 days in detention after ICE agents arrested him over his involvement in pro-Palestinian protests last year.
Take a look at this. Willow Newell makes history. She is the first black woman to win the Miss Wisconsin title. Graduating just months ago with a musical theater degree, she uses art to fight for inclusivity. Newell started competing at 14 years old and says she didn't see a lot of people that looked like her or had hair like hers. And that's why she goes all natural and is adamant about including everyone in every space across the state.
If you live or work in and around Middleton, heads up. Parmenter Street construction is now in progress. It's expected to last until mid-October. This is from just north of Century Avenue to just south of Greenbrier Road near the Middleton Operations Center. The road will be closed to through traffic. Access will remain open, though, for folks who live in that area and for local businesses along the corridor.
AAA expects 72 million Americans to make a getaway this July 4th. At Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, customs officials say wait times are down. New enhanced passenger processing technology uses facial recognition, decreasing the wait time by 25%. AAA expects a record high of drivers on the road over the 4th at near 62 million. That's up 1.3 million from last year.
Well, temperatures early this morning are in the 70s, even a couple of us northwest of Madison pushing 80 degrees. We'll see temperatures rise into the 90s again, lower to mid 90s. That's prompting alert day conditions for one more day because the dangerous heat. Heat index values will be between 95 up to 100 and then finally back down to the 80s tomorrow. That's because of a cold front, but because of that cold front, we could see some stronger storms this afternoon into the early evening.
All right, lots going on. Savannah, thank you.
Our next newscast is coming up at noon.
And you can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.
Have a great day.